Hello, everybody. Good evening. This is Justin Jones. Waiting on Dennis. He'll hop on here in a moment. He just got my link. And then we'll get rocking and rolling. We got Gene. Hello, Gene. Kirk Otto. Welcome, Kirk. Glad to have you here. David Lawson. Good evening. Bearded Bacon. Welcome. Glad to have you too. Okay. We are waiting on Dennis. See, we've got 4 viewers right now. I hope everybody's been having a good week and ready for another week. Me personally, it's summer. I'm a teacher, so I'm on break. But I hope everyone else is having a good week. Where is this guy? He is slow. Boom, 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 boom. By the way, if you are a member of the inner circle, let's see, we got, based off who's in the comments, I don't think any of you are on the Zoom we had. So if you missed the Zoom, if you're in the inner circle, we had a really great Zoom session on Wednesday, just discussing the importance of procedures, and I mean it was way more fun than it sounds. We had a really great conversation, and so if you're in the inner circle, that is actually uploaded in the members only section. I encourage you to go back and catch up on that because that was really great. See, is Dennis here? Hey, Dennis, what up?
¿Qué pasó?
Hello. How are you?
Yes, that was I'm good. That was a very good talk. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait for the creation of the full blown version that we will
Yeah, yeah, that's really
waiting,
exciting.
old man. Oh man. I was waiting on you. Who took so long to send that email
I
out?
know. I was dealing with kids last minute. David Lawson,
Oh,
I'll send you a link for the inner circle information. Let me pull that up because yeah, it was really good. And so what that conversation is going to end up being is, like Dennis and I were saying, it's going to end up with actual like documents and associated videos that are geared towards like helping you to improve your lodge. And so it's a lot more hands on than just a video. It's going to give you something tangible in the end result. So that's what we're pretty excited about. Plus, we talk about a lot of other
yeah, this
important
is
stuff, just like examples of good procedures and things, like with the Westgate and stuff like that.
right, and etiquette and things like that. I mean, there's so much to the discussions of Freemasonry. When you're talking nuts and bolts, there's so much that needs to be put in there at the same time so that you get it in context. Because a lot of times, we talk about, always suit up, and taken out of context, it sounds like we're just trying to be elitist. But when you start talking about the fact that in the beginning they wanted us all to be uniform in how we were so that no one appeared higher or lower than the other, and then it was so everyone was on the level. But anyways, that's just like one little tidbit of different things that you can get along the way during these discussions, because there are so many little things like
I'll
parliamentary procedure and things like that, things that need to be said as you go along.
I'll be honest. I was kind of coming in there, which is a whole bunch of. I posted a link, by the way, to the inner circle in the chat, but we came into the Zoom meeting. I just had some notes, and I wasn't really sure how it was going to go, right? Because I just kind of wanted to. I didn't have a direction other than just using the notes as a guideline, and I think there ended up being what, about 6 of us, 7 of us on the chat. I mean, it wasn't a huge number,
Hmm.
but it was we started off with 4, ended up being like 6 or 7, and I mean we had some really good conversations. I mean it was a good time.
Yeah, it wasn't just our thoughts. It was also the thoughts of brothers and what they've done in their lodges. And
Yep,
it's always good to hear different success stories, you
absolutely.
know.
Yeah, and so the goal of this, because Dennis and I, we talk a lot about different ideas, right? Like ways to improve the lodge. But I know from firsthand experience that it can be very overwhelming at the same time. Like you don't really know what you want to tackle first, and you don't really
Yeah, where
necessarily
to
know where
start.
you're at. Yeah, you can't know where to start unless you know where you're at. And so
Yes,
I think,
true.
I mean, it'll even benefit me, to be frank, to have the checklist.
Oh, oh yeah, oh
So
yeah.
it'll give people like, hey, this is what's already going well. This is what's suggested to that we can improve. The membership isn't really keen on this idea, but they're keen on this, and we know we can move the bar where we want it to be, right? And so you gotta you gotta tweak it to your lodge and get the victories you can, right? Because sometimes you gotta have the small victories before you can get like the more difficult victories under your belt.
Right, right. Well, and speaking of small victories, I had a brother request that I write something up about the agenda. And at first, I was just going to send him my agenda for my year that he could use as a fill in the blank template.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to go line item by line item and discuss, how I did it or how I think it should be done, which I didn't take advantage of at the time, and I should have. Different things to maximize your lodge experiences in the meeting setting, and that's something that I'd like to make available as well. I could do it right now for all the new masters that are coming in. If they feel like they would want something like that, contact us,
Yeah.
and we can send it out to you. And because it's just a tool to help. It's not saying you have to do anything in a certain way, but becoming a master, man, your head shoots out your butt that first meeting, and it's hard. When you drop that gavel the first time, this is on. It's real,
Mm-hmm.
and so it helps to have that little agenda right there.
No, definitely. I wholeheartedly agree on that. Having agenda, it nothing catches you off guard or shouldn't, right? You know exactly what
Yeah.
you're going to talk about that evening. You have time to look at it before the meeting if it's done right, right? So you know what to expect, you know
Right.
what to prepare for, and if it's not on the agenda, it doesn't get talked about. And this it's not
Yeah.
that's not
I'll
that's
send
not
that over to you.
and that's not snobby or elitist. Like go to a city council meeting or anything like that, and you have up to like 15 minutes before the meeting to get on the agenda. Otherwise, it's not talked about.
Right.
That's the norm. Otherwise people sit there and just back and forth for hours on end. And guess what? I've been in lodges where people just back and forth hours on end. So it's
Right.
there's a reason because they don't have the agenda they need.
And that's why he asked for it now, because he wants to have an officers meeting and discuss it ahead of time so everybody is on the same page and everybody knows what the goal is, what the game plan is, and what the expectations are,
Mm-hmm.
so that he will immediately take charge of the meeting, and not in a you domineering way or whatever, but he'll take charge of the meeting. He'll have his ritual right. He'll have an agenda that's smooth and also respectful of people's time, and with a few little added tidbits that'll make it for a nice experience. And he'll automatically gain respect from all those past masters that are just waiting for him to mess up.
Yeah.
And not that they're doing it for a negative reason, right? Well, I mean, some of them are, but most of them are just waiting for a reason to say, man, this is going to be a effed up year.
Hello, Austin. Thanks for hopping on, bud. Yeah.
But no, it immediately sets the pace and sets the standard, and creates respect. And once you have that from the beginning, man, it makes for a much nicer year.
Yep. Makes it much smoother. It kind of builds your confidence. as a new worship
Yeah.
master to have that agenda. And
And
I
you'll
don't
gain
know.
support.
I don't know what yours looks like. I always just follow the agenda. I think it's in the
Yeah.
like the monitor. Isn't there agenda in the
I'll
monitor?
send it to you right now.
But I always follow that as like a template and just plug in things where they're needed. But I'm sure yours
Yeah,
is superior, so I'll go with what you have.
I've never looked at.
Or maybe it's the law book.
I've
No,
never
it's not the
looked
law
at the
book.
one
It's
in the monitor.
the monitor
I've
has
never looked at it, to be honest with you. There's one there. Yes, I know that there's one there somewhere.
make old past masters head shake. Say that you're doing officer meetings every month. Man, past masters just need to get over themselves. Frankly, I mean, people. And
Yes.
there's an entire paradigm in Freemasonry that we have to shift out, and that is just running it like some casual hobby, right? We have buildings. We have a very important duty that's laid out for us to make good men better and improve the world. Frankly, whoa, some big thunder. But anyway, so if the live just goes down, I probably got my power turned off. But yeah, be careful there. I mean, I know, it's you're treading on hallowed ground when you start to upset past masters. Yes, you have to run it like a business. That's what I'm getting at. You have to run your lodge like a business. That requires regular meetings, not necessarily called meetings or stating meetings. That means getting with your leadership team and be on the same page, ironing things out. Expect your committees to actually meet, because committees are supposed to report their decisions in lodge, not have their committee meetings in the stated meeting. That defeats the whole purpose of a committee. And
Oh my gosh, that makes me so angry.
oh, it infuriates me. And there's so many lodges that do it. My lodge does it. I hate to say it. I mean, don't think just because well, one of my lodges does, but don't think just because Dennis and I sit here and talk about these things that our lodges are perfect. Because frankly,
Yeah, our lodges are not perfect.
you can't be a hero in your own town. You know the old saying. And so like my lodges have improved, right? But they're not where they need to be. And that's why I say when I say it's a rough and rugged road to get a lodge where it needs to be, that's exactly why, because it's an uphill battle the entire way.
Yeah, we're discussing best practices. We're not saying that we're perfect at all. And I think that's I have a hard time doing that, speaking without sounding like I'm doing it from an authoritative type stance, but that's not really what I'm doing. I'm just blunt and direct, too direct sometimes.
Yeah.
But when we speak, it's for the good of Freemasonry, and it's for best practices. It's not that we're perfect by any means.
Yeah. Yeah. If you run it like a business and the people enjoy themselves, you'll be standing on the platform Thursday afternoon and getting a Vanguard certificate. Potentially, yeah.
Very possible.
Very possible.
Yes.
I mean, if you're doing things the right way and people are enjoying themselves, I always say people vote with their feet, right? And it may sound like
they sure do.
These extra meetings may sound like more work, but what it ends up being is a more well-run organization. And people like well-run organizations, right? They don't like ambiguity and uncertainty. They like to know how things are being run. They like to know what the processes are. They like to know what to expect, right? And they like to have buy-in, because then they feel like they're a part of something. But if it's just if you're just shooting from the hip, and decisions are sporadic, like worship master says you're going to do this, and then he changes his mind a few days later. If there's no direction, there's no interest. Excuse me, there's no interest. I mean, it's what.
Yeah, you can't do let's try this and see what happens, and then we'll take it to its completion if it all looks good, midway. That's not how you do things.
I had someone really close to me that went to the East just several years ago, and he would jokingly say he did a good job because the charter was still on the wall at the end of the year. And I was like, man, I mean, yeah, definitely. You want to still have the chart on the wall because you did a bad
That's a
job.
very low
Yeah,
expectation right
yeah. I
there.
mean, you definitely did a bad job if you lost the charter. But yeah, I mean, have some goals and some direction. Because if your direction is just to keep your charter, you're existing just for the sake of existing. And there's a lot of especially appendant organizations in the fraternity right now. I'm looking at you, York Right, where you're just scraping by with enough people. Sometimes just making up numbers, saying that you had enough people to meet, just for the sake of keeping your charter, so you can continue fudging your numbers. And it's pointless. You need to merge at that point. That's what we did at Grandview. Grandview is my mother lodge. That's where I received all my degrees, and that was my first chapter in council. And chapter in council was dead, and so I pushed to have it merge. It was not something I was proud of because my dad and my granddad were both members of that chapter council too. But it was at that point where unless a handful of people were there pushing for things to get moving constantly, it was dead. It was dead, and you were just having enough people just to say you're there. And
Wouldn't you rather have that legacy of merging rather than like the legacy of it died during your year? Because it didn't really die if you merged. You just did the right thing for the fraternity,
yeah,
as opposed to you wasting all the money and resources and killing.
well, in the past, secretaries or recorders or whatever they're called, they they to be frank, the numbers are not always accurate, right? And the meetings that they said they have are not always accurate. And I fell into that role as secretary, and I'm not going to lie. I'm not gonna make up numbers just for the sake. And
Yeah,
we got a
that's no
pretty
good.
unpleasant letter from the I believe it was the Grand High Priest at the time, saying that hey, we're not meeting, and basically threatened to take the charter. And I was like, look, either we're going to lose the charter or we're going to have to merge because I'm not going to make up numbers. And you guys, and to be honest, most of those guys still don't come to Hillsboro. Like they were going to chapter council, they're still not coming to Hillsboro, and it's just not the interest there, and that's on them. I mean, Hillsboro is a thriving, exciting Yorkite organization now, but if they don't want to participate, that's fine. But that merge is what set it off because Hillsboro was kind of dead in the water too until the merge took place. And you don't know. I mean, sometimes that has to be what happens to really set things off.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that believes that I'm not gonna lowbrow anybody for not coming to lodge. If it's not your gig, it's not your gig.
Yep,
That's okay. Do what fulfills your life,
I
but
agree.
don't be the guy that isn't interested in being there, and then when somebody says they want to shut down a lodge, shows up to vote against it.
Hmm.
That's a crock.
Yeah.
You're either in it. If you're in it, you're in it. If you're not, get out.
Well, I knew it was
That's
time. I knew it was time for the merge when I sent the letters out, and nobody showed up to talk about it. Nobody, aside for the regular people, showed up to the meeting to actually like where people usually show up and
Yeah,
got
there's your interest right
nobody.
there.
Yeah, I was like, that's how you know it's just time to do it. And so, I mean, that's what happened. David
And
Lawson
that's the way it
says,
is with lodges also.
"Oh yeah, I mean, the same thing
Go
can
ahead.
happen with lodges too." David Lawson says they lost their whole York Rat body due to membership and involvement, and that's it's my experience. Like York Rat's usually one of the first things to go in the area. Lots of lodges had York Rats at one point, like lodges that are surprising to me.
Almost all of them did.
Most of them did, yeah. And now there's just a handful. I think York Rat is in this process right now where it's not congealing, but it's kind of coming together in specific areas. And I think eventually 10 or 20 years down the road, you'll see way less York Rats, but they're going to be a lot stronger. And they're going to start probably looking a lot like Scottish Rats, I think, and
Well,
that you're
and
going to
that's the
have
way it
fewer
should
of
be.
them. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Frankly, I mean, Scottish Rite tried a different approach than York Rite, and their approach is being more successful. That's fewer with larger catchments, right? So they bring in from larger areas. York Rite
Well, and
was
as
smaller in grassroots, and I mean it worked for a while, but it's not where it needs to be anymore.
well, and if you think about it, it creates a different experience also.
Yeah, it does.
So you're not doing the same things. And, I love it that the York-Rite degrees are an extension of the first 3 degrees, but I hate it that they're the extension of the first 3 degrees, because they lie so heavily on it and attach themselves so much to Blue Lodge that it becomes like another Blue Lodge experience. And I didn't join York-Rite for the Blue Lodge experience. I joined it for the York-Rite experience,
Yeah.
And I think that that's where we sometimes get complacent in what we're doing, because we're meeting so much in the same building doing these different things. And I think the same thing probably happened to the Eastern Star and different bodies that used to meet in the buildings.
Yeah.
That it just became the same of a different,
Well, something that I've noticed before is that when I go to Blue Lodge at Hillsboro, it feels different than when I go to York-Rite, right? And it definitely feels different when I go to AMD there. The entire vibe of the place has changed. Like I'm sitting in the same lodge room with a lot of the same people, but it doesn't feel like the same place. And I think
but you also have a lot of other people
yes,
from
yes,
other areas.
yes, and I think all these things together is what makes it feel unique. I mean, it's not the Blue Lodge experience. It felt like I was just sitting in my same lodge room with the same guys. Then yeah, that would not be enjoyable. It'd feel dead for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very important for any, even the Scottish Rite. You don't want it to become like another body or whatever. You don't want too many things doing the exact same thing, or it loses its luster.
I agree.
Loses its draw.
Yeah, especially if you have a small body, and most of the members are members of your Blue Lodge, right? You're kind of double dipping at that point. It's like, hey, let's do a fundraiser. Right. Well, these guys are already doing fundraisers for the Blue Lodge, right? In most lodges, right? If you say, hey, let's like anything you try to push on them, if it's the same thing you're doing on Blue Lodge already, then you're double dipping, and you're just wearing them out twice as fast. There's no excitement in that. Yeah. York-Rite, like I've tried to push my Blue Lodge away from fundraising, and they're not doing it. And in fact, after tomorrow evening, when we have elections, we're going full circle back to it, unfortunately. And but York-Rite, we don't have to do that. We don't have to fundraise, right? We have education, we have good meals, we do charity, but it's not fundraising. Like we have people, we'll do like a charity drive. Like we did a drive for homeless veterans, for what's the polite word for like bathroom supplies? I don't remember what it's called, but things like that, like shampoo,
toiletries,
huh? Toiletries, yeah, like shampoos, toothpaste, toothbrushes. And so what we did is the brothers went out and bought the stuff and brought it in, and I posted a picture on the old Facebook page. Did I? Maybe I didn't. But anyway, I posted like we got a full table just full of stuff. Like I thought it'd be a handful of things, and everyone was really generous. So that's the way we do it in York-Rite. Like we don't ask you to go out and sell raffle tickets. We just say, hey, we need some of these things. Buy what you can, what you're willing to, and that's what we did. Oscar TX 956. Hello, brothers. Hello, Oscar. Good to see you, sir. So
what's going on, sir?
You can't run it like what's already there, if that makes sense. You have to provide something different and unique. And a lot of these dependent.
Well, we had a pretty exciting thing happen in Lodge this week.
You admitted?
No.
Oh.
We raised our endowments.
Oh, congratulations. To what?
In Goliad 94.
From what to what?
It wasn't to where I would like for it to be, but it's a start. At least they recognize the importance of staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So I would have gone from 500 to 1,000, but they did not. They chose to go to 700, which at least put them ahead of the curve for a year until they raise.
All that trouble to fill out all that paperwork, right, and go through the process for $200. I mean, it is right. An improvement, right? I do agree on that.
Well, at least they're in the headspace that they get it. Yeah. And it was one of the new one of the new officers that was just elected to become senior warden. He was junior warden, and it's one of the 3 that are officers now that have gone through OLT.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
And he stood up and said, one thing I learned in OLT was finance. And the one thing I learned is that we are not giving enough with our endowments to even pay for the. So why are we not doing that?
Yep.
And then they said, well, the break even would end up being $600. And then they said, well, why not $700? Let's at least get ahead of it a little bit.
What are the dues?
They voted in. Too low. I don't want to talk about it. So they haven't increased since they increased in my year, and I didn't get as much as I wanted to.
So the endowment,
they only increased by $15 when I did it.
The endowment at Hillsboro is $2,000, which isn't where it needs to be, but there's also a certain point, like it gets to a certain height, like a certain price where people aren't going to do it anyway. So it's at $2,000 in Hillsboro. Mercury, which I was a member of, I think I still technically am. Their endowment's like $7,000. So
yeah, there's a lodge that I know of that the endowment is $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they're not the only one. There's well, right now they're the only one. Yeah.
The ones that are doing the math.
Never mind. But the dues are also more expensive, also a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you consider how few times they actually meet every year, and it's yeah. But it's a different experience though. Also, it's not the same old that you get from another lodge. Good night, baby. I'm proud of you. You did good today.
Thank you. Oh, okay.
Yes, please. She did her ballet folklorico today.
She did what?
She did her recital.
Oh, okay.
Ballet folklorico. Where the girls dance and do their with the dresses. And she got the best memory award for the best student with the best memory award, and the student that was most improved throughout the year. So kudos
congratulations.
to my girl.
That's very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, she said, and this is crazy because this is the way my oldest son was too. She said, Sarah will come to class. She'll ask which one we're doing. I'll give her the name of the performance, and she will go get in her position and know every move that it takes for that position. My son in football, he ended up being on offense, defense, and special teams because he was the only member that knew every play of every game. Just weird like that.
Yeah.
Me, I can't remember yesterday.
I was looking. There's a post. I won't name names, but it's on Texas it's on a page on Facebook, right? And the dude is posting a picture saying, "I got my installation outfit ready." Have you seen it?
I had people snapshot it and send it to me to make sure that I saw it. It was so funny. I couldn't believe it.
I don't.
But I know that that's not really his.
Okay, because honestly, with the state of things, I don't know sometimes if the people are joking or not. So,
I can tell you he's not.
Okay.
Or he is.
He is.
He's
Okay.
joking.
All right, because I was like, I don't know. You never know. Sometimes,
but he's.
Go ahead.
People are mistaken on Facebook like that. I made a joke the other day about, buttering up the girls because it's time to get that new Father's Day cup. And all these guys just took it downhill. And it's like, are you kidding me? It was a joke, man.
You get a lot of feedback on your stuff. No one, and I'm not complaining, but I don't get a whole lot of messages or snapshots or anything like that. Maybe it's just because I'm probably just because I'm socially awkward. Like, I'll feel bad. Like, Austin will message me sometimes, and I'm like, "Yeah, man, it's really cool." And and I was like, I don't know how to respond properly to a lot of things, like through text and stuff. So I was like,
I'm trollable.
Oh, you're trollable.
I'm trollable.
I'm socially awkward. So like people will
Yeah, I'm
message me and I'll
trollable.
be like, yeah, that's really good. I like that. And then they'll stop. And it's like, I don't know if this is how normal conversations go or not. Like, do they take a lot of time or is it just like, I like that? And no one says anything after that. I don't know. I don't know.
Right, right.
By the way, talking about
Yeah.
all of the exciting things that we were discussing on our inner circle conversation on Wednesday, which if you're in inner
Hmm.
circle, if you haven't seen it, Austin was there. But if you're inner circle and if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube under inner circle. But these are all things that will be talked about at the Masonic Improvement Summit, right, in Corpus Christi. So if this is stuff that's interesting to you, if you could be there, you need to be there. September 16th, right? Uh, Corpus Christi, Texas, and I'll post a link for the tickets. But if you can be there, if this is kind of stuff that's interesting to you, it's not the only stuff we're going to talk about because there's going to be a lot of esoteric
Yeah,
conversation. And
this isn't nuts and bolts. This isn't taking the place of OLT. This is this is leadership. What leadership requires
yeah,
of a man.
yeah, it's going to be almost like a very well-rounded event where it's going to cover a lot of different things. So there's something for everybody there. I mean, it's going to be great. So I pinned it. I pinned it. Check out the link if you haven't looked at it yet. And I mean, it's a full day with a lot of good stuff going on. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited because it's just around the corner.
Yeah, I'm heading down to Corpus Christi Lodge number 189 tomorrow,
Mm.
and then I'm going to Oso Lodge uh, Tuesday night to visit with the brethren, hang out down there. Oso is the lodge that performs the master's degree on the Lexington, which will be the at the end of our event before we go home and start before we go to the hotel and start talking Freemasonry.
Mhm.
That's going to be exciting, going down there and hanging out with the brothers tomorrow
Yeah.
and the next day.
Let's see. So let me look here. That's something real quick. You don't have to be quiet just because I'm looking. Because it's going to take me a minute, Dennis. Let's see here. Let me look. I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find some info real quick.
So
Go ahead. Go ahead.
so brothers, what the event is it's the vision is for leadership in Freemasonry. You know, the speakers are all leaders within Freemasonry, and they're talking on different topics that are geared towards leadership.
Yeah.
Not necessarily on the same thing hashing over and over, but like one brother will be talking about the leaders in Texas that created Texas and how there would be no Texas without Freemasonry. One will talk about the ancient mystery schools. One will talk about, but then we'll get into some of the stuff that you really have not heard yet. When we get to our keynote speaker, he's going to be talking about the hard data on Freemasonry in Texas.
Yeah.
And that's a big one to hear, because that one, if like we've been saying, if you don't know where you are, how do you know what you need to do to get to where you want to be? You know, that's the thing. That's a big one. I can't wait.
Yeah. So I mean, it's gonna be we're gonna meet at 9 o'clock in the morning at what's the shrine name? I always miss the
Alamin.
Alamein.
Alamin.
Always mess that up.
Mm-hmm.
We'll meet there at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to have presentations all day, and then we're going to have a festive board that the ticket covers the price of that. It's also at Alamein. And then after that, we're going to go to the USS Lexington, which is not far from the shrine.
Well, it's not far from the hotel either.
Not far from the hotel either. Yeah, and we'll watch the Master Mason's degree upon the USS Lexington, which I went last year, and it's awesome. I mean, it was an awesome experience. Every
And
Texas Mason.
we're gonna
What?
go ahead.
Every Texas
Go ahead.
Mason should at least be there once. Beforehand, what?
And beforehand, we're gonna have a picture of everybody on the flight.
Yeah.
We've got a photographer that's going to be there taking pictures throughout the event, and we're going to have everybody up on the flight deck with a big picture. Also, we've scheduled it. We've set it up with the hotel next to it, the DoubleTree, the Hilton DoubleTree, and it's ocean view, and we've set it up with them to be our hotel, and so we're telling you to bring your family so that they can play on the beach while we're doing our thing. And then the Texas Aquarium is 2 blocks away. I'm also working on getting a tour for the families during the day while we're off doing our thing at on the Lexington, so that they can go and see the Lex.
That's cool.
You know, that would be, yeah, that way the families can go and do that while we're doing our thing. That way they have things to do, along with being able to play on the beach.
Yep, I love that. And so all of that, I was actually looking, like, once it's all said and done and tax and everything's all said and done, it's like $120, and that's cheap for everything that you're going to be experiencing. Oh, we also forgot to mention that Mickey Allen is going to be donating a custom piece, which we don't have any pictures yet, do we? Like, he hadn't started yet, or is it just still? Well, I don't.
No, he's got the steel ordered.
Okay.
I think it's already in, and I took over the branch. In fact, I need to get that stupid video. I made some videos of all this, and so I need to cut it all together and put it on the line. On the line. That just says my age. On the line.
You did some editing? You did your own editing? It's good of you to branch out.
I'm using a professional editor program.
It's good of you to branch out, man.
Mm-hmm.
You really went out on a limb for that.
Oh, I missed those. It's been a while. You've been off your game.
Yeah, I know. I've been barking up the wrong tree. I don't know what the root of the problem has been. Okay, I'll stop. Anyway, but yeah, so he's donating it's going to be awesome. It's going to be it's going to be extremely unique. Like, you don't see many of these. But he's donating a mystery object to.
I've only seen one Mason with this in their repertoire, and that's Grandmaster Billings.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, Brad Billings. He had one in our interview with him. And
yes. Why did you say that? Now they're all gonna go to that video. And
well, you have to go watch it.
Video, it's cool.
It could be anything. This dude's got swords and all kinds of crap. Who knows what it could be?
I know. He's got
like an armory in his library.
I know. So. I love his trinkets. It doesn't make me feel bad. You know, when my wife is mad because she can't walk in the third bedroom because of all my junk, it doesn't make me feel bad seeing his, because I know that I'm in good company.
Yeah. So he's going to be donating something for auction, and the auction is going to be benefiting the shrine.
Yes.
So
yes.
I mean, it's just, I'm pumped, man. It's going to be awesome.
And the dinner is going to be surf and turf because we're down in Corpus, but it's going to be tenderloin and scampi. So it's going to be a nice surf and turf.
And that's already covered by your ticket. That's already covered by the price of the ticket.
Yeah.
And
this is good stuff here.
And we haven't announced all the presenters yet. There's one more we're going to interview, and then we have a mystery.
Well, we may be interviewing 2 more.
Okay. Hey, more the merrier.
The mystery one is going to be talking at the festive board.
Oh, so we're okay. I don't know what we're talking
about. The other one I was talking to him today, so I need to talk to you about that after.
Yeah,
after
I was saying we need to go ahead and interview him anyway. So I agree, that'd be good. But yeah, so we got it's an awesome lineup. What's up, Zach Smith? Welcome, glad to have you, sir.
Hey, Zach. Yeah, and if going back to the degree on the Lexington, it's going to be performed by the Knights of Mecca, which is a group it's one of the clubs from Hella Shrine, and they're all certificate holders. They're all A certificate holders, and they're all past masters, and they go around doing degrees, helping out other lodges and stuff. but these guys do it in the regalia and in the
Yeah,
what
it's
do you
in
call them?
costume.
The outfits.
Yeah, costume.
I, I hate calling them costumes, but yeah, they do them in the
Well, it's not a
costumes,
uniform.
right?
So
They perform a reenactment.
it's reenactment. Yeah, but yeah,
That's what
it's
it's like though, because they're in those costumes and it really brings the picture to life.
yeah, and it's a I don't know, man. Like that Lexington experience was one of a kind for me last year. Like there was
Yeah.
a lot of experiences that took place there that made it truly unique. Like besides the fact you're on a boat, giant ship, despite the fact that everyone's in costume, I don't know, man. It was a great time. It's like one of the highlights of my Masonic journey so far. So, um, if you're going to be in Corpus for that and for the USS Lexington, I mean, I strongly suggest you come to the summit. And if you come to the summit, you might as well go to the USS Lexington because after the Lexington's
Well,
over and we're all out, that's where we're all going to head to the beach or the top floor of the hotel or whatever, and just discuss. I mean, there's gonna be
or the
some
bottom
good
floor just to hang out with everybody.
or the bottom
Even
floor.
even if you're not even if you're not staying at the hotels, stay at the hotel during that time and hang out with us and let's talk Freemasonry. You're gonna have some of the sharpest individuals in Freemasonry in a one, two, three, four in a 4-state area
Mm-hmm.
to talk to.
Yeah.
Why would you not want to take advantage of that opportunity?
Uh,
That's just crazy.
Probably from other countries too.
Yes.
So it's gonna be a melting pot of awesome. And I'm actually
Yeah.
thinking I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but my goal is to have this. So most of you that were here earlier, they're here now. Probably what I hear earlier, but Dennis and I in our last inner circle Zoom discussion, we talked about making like a basically almost like a guide for lodges on how they can improve themselves. Like this is where I'm at. This is where I need to be. Like very straightforward, almost like a chart. Like this is what I need to do to get here, and I'm hoping to have it done, like at least like a really good rough draft before the event, and I don't know. Maybe I'll bring it and we'll discuss it afterwards or something. Because I think that's really a positive thing. Russell Copeland says next time we're going to do it right with full regalia. Regalia is the word, Dennis. That's what you're thinking of. Regalia.
I did say regalia.
No, you said costumes. I said regalia.
I said with regalia and then I was at a loss for words.
Oh. Okay, Dennis. If you say so.
Go back and review the tape, sir.
So cool, man.
But yeah, anyway, so what questions do we have?
There's no questions.
board,
It's been we've had pretty good views, but the concurrent views have been low this evening. So we had like 30 people watching it, but it's been like 3 to 5 people at one time. So it's we've had people pop in and out and leave comments, but no questions or anything. It's been a quiet evening.
Okay, well let me stir the pot a little bit. This is the end of the year where everybody's giving out the scholarships and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about those scholarships, and we always have these committees that they take in all the scholarship information from all the different applicants, and they review all this information, and then they decide on who's going to get a scholarship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you have 3 scholarships to give away. You have 5 applicants. 2 of them are relatives of a brother. What would you do?
The relatives of a brother? Like how are they relatives?
Doesn't matter.
It does matter.
That's the question.
If they were
That's
like
the question.
the children of the brother, then yeah, I'd probably lean more towards giving it to them. If they were like third cousins twice removed, I mean, that won't really affect anything. So it really depends on the relationship.
Let's say children or grandchildren within the immediate family.
Then yeah, I'd probably favor them unless like the just application is garbage. I feel like we
Yeah,
have a I feel like we have a responsibility to assist our brothers if we can.
yeah, and that's where I was getting. I truly believe that we have missed the boat on charity to the point that when we're giving out these scholarships, we act like we're a school giving a scholarship instead of a Mason giving a scholarship to another Mason.
Yeah.
You know, we forget what our actual obligations are.
Yep.
They should always come first. Always. Hands down, no exceptions.
I
No exception.
I have a few issues with scholarships personally. I never really vocal about it, but I have a few issues with the scholarships. What's the purpose of the scholarships? You tell me. What's the purpose of
To help.
scholarships? To help who?
To help the kids
To help the kids.
in their college ventures.
Okay. Then in that case,
So that may be buying supplies. It may be buying a laptop for their school. It may be
how does that align
paying
with
for their meal card.
with what we're supposed to be doing as Masons?
We're helping our brother's family.
If you are helping a brother, yeah, like your brother's family, I agree.
Right.
If it's
Right.
just some random kid, so let me just get to instead of beating around the bush. College is expensive, right? And most lodges, they'll do like $1,000 scholarship, right? And they'll say, hey, you need to write a paper, and then we'll review that and decide if you're worthy of scholarship.
Right.
And then they get like one applicant, maybe two applicants, and
Right.
well, the first reason for that is because $1,000 going towards college isn't crap. Maybe if you go into a trade school, right? Otherwise, it's crap.
Well,
It's crap, especially if you go into.
that's why I say that it can go to all those other things too, because they still got to eat. That's still an expense. They still need gas. They still need lodging. They still need all these things that isn't covered. Even if they get a scholarship
Yeah.
from a school, that all that other stuff is not necessarily covered. They still need books.
I think scholarships need to be significantly higher if you're going to give scholarships, or we need to humble ourselves and say, hey, maybe we don't need to require as much in the application process, because asking when I have a $10,000 scholarship that requires a paper and a $1,000 scholarship that requires a paper, everything else being equal, what am I probably going to grab? The $10,000 scholarship, right? So unless the application says, hey, you need to list any relatives you have that are Masons, because that will put you at the front of the line or something like that. Otherwise,
Right.
And then my other real beef with scholarships is that a lot of lodges, if they get numerous scholarships, and I'll just be frank, they look for the most academically challenged kid. Then they say, well, this kid's probably not getting a lot of scholarships, so he can use the money. Well, why are we rewarding mediocrity in our fraternity, right? Like if I would say that really scholarships in the mind of most Masons, I'll tell you what the probably the primary purpose is in the mind of most Masons, because you'd have already established that they don't always look at the relationship, the Masonic relationship, like they should, right?
Right. They're trying to do it for marketing.
They're doing it for marketing, exactly. And so, if you're doing it for marketing, why are you giving scholarships to females, right? And then, by that same token, why are you also giving it to the kids that make the lowest grades, right? Because females can't join the fraternity, right? They cannot join Freemasonry. They can join Easter Star, but Easter Star.
Yeah, and I've never seen one parent join the fraternity because their kid got a scholarship. I've never seen.
You give my kid a $500 scholarship, I better go join. No, and then say you give it to a boy because he's the bottom of his class, Do you want him to join the fraternity? Right? And so why are we and this is and look, to be honest, I was not top of my class. So I don't think I'm being a snob. I mean, I have a master's degree now, but at the time, I was not an academic kid, and so I'm coming from a place where I've been there. Why are we giving scholarships to kids that are making the lowest grades? And the justification is being, well, they're not getting a lot of scholarships. Well, that sucks, man. But why are we awarding them? They're not getting a lot of scholarships because the kids that are getting a lot of scholarships, they put the work in for the grades, and they're snatching up every scholarship form they can and filling them out, right? And so because this other kid did not work hard or had a hard time in school and is just grabbing whatever's left, we should reward him for the scholarship? No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Right. Well, and I'm all for giving scholarships for trade schools and stuff, but I don't like it when it's a requirement. I also don't like it when it's a requirement that they use the scholarship within a certain area, like for the local college, and not for another area outside of the local college's range.
You shouldn't really designate where they're going to school at or anything.
Right. And so, because then if you don't have, and this is something that I've run across recently, is that you have these kids, two of them are very qualified, but based on the stipulations of the committee, of what was put to the committee, they had to have one that was a male, one that was a female, and then it had to be within these certain bounds. And so then you make it's only going to be this certain person that's going to be able to get the scholarship. Yeah. So why would anybody want to? Either way, no matter what, I think that brothers' kids should get scholarships.
The question was asked: what if we did widows and orphans only? Sure. Like if we were doing scholarships and I was on the committee and one of them was a widow of a Mason. Absolutely, or the orphan.
That's hands down.
Like the child of a Mason, especially if it was
but you can't do only because you may not get that, and then you won't be able to give out a scholarship.
That's what I'm saying. Like if we're exclusive to that, like a lot of lodges, especially rural, they don't get enough scholarship applications to even be that picky. Which also goes back to another point I was going to make. Like if someone doesn't meet your criteria, just don't give a scholarship. Put the money back and do a larger scholarship next year. But we kind of get antsy.
Right.
Like we have to, like most of the brothers, and some when they went to college, if they went to college, $1,000 would have went a long way at the time, right? $1,000 will still go pretty far for trade school, and it will still go pretty far for meals, but it's not going to go as far for like books or tuition or anything like that today. So you might have a brother that...
that's one semester of books, I can tell you.
Yeah.
I've been paying that for the last 4 years. Not even for all your
classes, I don't think. But if you have one brother who went to A&M back in 1980, and you say, well, $1,000 is pretty good. That's going to go a long way. It won't. It might have went a long way in 1980, but not today. 1970 for sure, but not today. Like you said, I mean, that's just going to buy like maybe 2 books. Maybe 2 books in an online book. It's not going to go far. So my point is, if you're doing scholarships for marketing, right, which is the wrong reason to do it in my opinion, but if you're going to do that, you need to say, okay,
I agree.
If we're doing it for marketing, how are we going to market this? Are we trying to get members out of it? If that's the case, we need to be sure we're only giving the scholarship to people that can join. Also, how are we going to promote that we did this, right? Which I think is the wrong reason to do it. You should be doing it to help somebody. But if you're going to do it to help somebody, you need to say, is $1,000 or $500 or however you break up the scholarship. I'd say anything less than probably, if I'm being frank, at the minimum $5,000. Anything less than that, I mean, people just aren't going to. They're going to bypass it for higher scholarships. And so if you can't do that, find something else to put your money towards. You don't have to do a scholarship every year. I know it's nice that you get matching funds and things, so you kind of have that incentive. But if it's not actually going to really be beneficial to somebody. And if you're not actually going to don't get me wrong, if you give a scholarship and if you don't take a picture and post it on Facebook, I think you made a mistake. But if that's the only reason you're doing it, that's also a big mistake.
You know what I think would be cool? What if Grand, which they do now on things, on certain things. What if you did a scholarship the to a class in school, like the class, the dyslexia teachers class, the special needs teachers class. You know, give them a scholarship to spend it how they need to for their kids, because teachers, and I've seen this firsthand and it just makes me ill. Teachers do not get the supplies that they need to teach the kids that in a way that's going to really stick with what, you know, stick in their minds. Teachers are having to spend money out of their pocket for supplies for kids, and that should not happen.
Well, aren't teachers supposed to get a Marabou award also? Aren't they entitled to get
Yeah,
one?
but that's not a monetary award.
Oh, well, Dennis, I know that. But you could say, as a lodge, you could say, we're going to pick one person to get the award, and we're going to designate X amount towards them for the year. So if you just tell us, give us an estimate of, like, work with the teacher, say, like, hey, we're going to help you get supplies this year. Give us a list of what you need within this parameter, and either we'll send you the money for it, or we'll buy the supplies for you, or give you a gift card or something for that. So alongside with the award, my point is, alongside with that award, they get kind of that financial assistance to
That support.
that support.
Yeah. Right. Well, our lodge has typically given $250 every year to the special needs class in the elementary school,
That's good.
and I believe in that. I think it should be more, but it's what our lodge can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that's a great gesture, and there's not a lot of fuss made about it. We just make sure that they get the money.
Well, the beautiful thing is, like, really most classes are applicable to Freemasonry, right? You could give it towards special needs, or you could give it towards science, or you give it towards like English, like language arts, stuff like that. Um, Something else I was thinking, I can't remember, but there's lots of classes that fall under several liberal arts, even if you're being generous with the interpretation. And so you can say, well, this is Masonic. Caesar Rubio is here. Hello, Caesar. Good to see you, sir. 1 second.
Glad you made it.
Got a frog in my throat. So David Lawson says, we get help from the assistant principal to identify students who need the help, along with being a good student, but GPA is not the only thing we look at. We also look to see if a student has a scholarship. So, like I said, some lodges do that, and at the end of the day, I mean, if that's what works best for y'all, then do it. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of that.
Yeah.
And that's okay that y'all do it. I mean, everybody's Freemasonry is different.
Yeah.
Every lodge runs the way they want to run their lodge, and that's okay. I'm just not down with that. I would rather have the applicants come in or send in their stuff, and usually you have the counselor send out a mass thing to everybody saying, they have a list of who all gives scholarships, in other words. And typically there's no need for the principal to seek out these kids, because really the kids who are going to be using a scholarship, they already know that their counselor has that list, and they're applying to different people on that list to get those scholarships. And I know I've been through the process.
Yeah.
but at the same time, we shouldn't limit it to who has the needs or whatever. We do make sure, and I agree with, that they're enrolled in school.
Yeah.
Before we send out the money.
Well, I think first and foremost, if you are a close relative of a Mason, they should automatically put you at the top of the list, right? And that should be
absolutely
communicated within the lodge, like, hey, scholarship, like that, like we have criteria, and if no Mason relatives apply, this is what we're looking for, right? But if a Mason relatives apply, especially if they're the one that applies, we're going to do everything we can to help them out. And that way, the Masons at the lodge know, hey, if when my kid graduates, gets close to graduation, his senior year, he needs to get an application and turn that in, right? Because there's a lot of there's a lot of my point is, if your lodge is going to be about that, communicate that. Be sure it's on the application so that they know, right? It shouldn't just be some ambiguous. Oh, we might help them if we like what they're doing. Like if your lodge decides you're going to do that and have that be a criteria, communicate it. Don't have it something that's ambiguous that no one's sure about.
Right. Right. I agree.
Um, Russell.
Now, beyond that, go ahead.
Russell.
Hey, Cope.
Russell Copeland says, I actually like the idea of giving it to local schools only because I like the idea that as a charity that has a possibility to enrich the local community. So are we talking about local schools or local colleges? Because I think local schools, like if you're a senior at the local school, yeah, absolutely. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying if
I think he's talking about local colleges.
Okay.
There's a lodge that we belong to that doesn't.
Like if you live in like College Station, if they want to apply to UT, for example, well, that probably wouldn't work very well in College Station. But I'm just saying, if they wanted to go to UT and you live in College Station, then that's fine, right? But what I am also saying, like if you live in College Station and someone from Bryan applies to your scholarship, no, like apply to Bryan Lodge, or I don't remember the name, but the Lodge of Bryan. Apply to that one. Let's see. Dale also says we've done Lamar Awards for a teacher with a monetary award. And I think that's great. And it's getting more popular across the state, like through state sponsored things. So, I mean, if you want
to, I think the Lamar Award should go to a teacher or a facility worker. We've given one to the lady that sits at the front desk, the secretary. Everybody knows and loves her, and the school wouldn't be the same without her.
Yep.
And we gave a Lamar Award to her one year.
Caesar Rubio says, you would think that because we venerate the several liberal arts and sciences that we would want to improve the nature of our educational system, but we don't. Not even our blue lodges study it. So the educational system here in Texas was actually founded by a Mason, Maribou Lamar, and it was heavily influenced early on by Freemasonry. Is it today? No.
Well, and here's the thing, and it's just like our relevance with all of Freemasonry, right? Back then, you got to think the reason why we had the obligations we had was because there was no insurance, there were no schools, there weren't these umbrellas for people if they came on to hard times and things like that.
Yep.
That's why the lodge was so serious about doing all those things. Now, today, we've got companies that are monetizing it, which actually stopped allowing us to do that. We are no longer allowed to, as this fraternity, to provide insurance to our membership because it's a monetized thing now through insurance companies. But that's what I was going to get back to originally, is that you get off of scholarships and all that kind of stuff. Where's our commitment to our brother?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're missing today that we didn't have missing back then. Today, we're more of acquaintances that call each other bro or brother or whatever, and it's too easy. Instead of in fact, now I kind of would rather just call you by your first name, Justin, instead of calling you brother Justin, brother Jones, whatever, because it's just too. It's become too watered down to mean something meaningful to me. To me, I personally believe our friendship is more connected than our brotherhood. I really do. I think that happens within our inner circles as well. And that's something we as Freemasons need to get past and get back to taking care of each other like we should. And if we don't, then that's the fundamental breakdown that we need to address first if we're not seeing that in our lodge.
Yeah. Sounds good. You made me think of I heard a quote earlier today. It's a full version of something that often gets misquoted. So I'm actually looking for the full quote because you said something 2 or 3 times today that's made me think of it. And of course, now I can't find it.
Well,
Oh,
keep looking.
yeah.
I have, for instances of that exact same thing happening within our lodges of brotherly love and affection and brother assistance and things like that. And those are the most touching moments of my Masonic journey, is seeing that when a brother's chips are down, getting the help that they need. When my chips were down, when my first wife decided she didn't want to be married to me anymore, my brother circled the wagons around me, and it made all the difference to me in the world. And that's why I've actually lost a lot of money trying to help brothers that didn't really appreciate it as much as I cared about helping them.
So here's the full quote. And so the original quote that everyone's heard is blood is thicker than water, right? And the short and
Yes.
sweet of that is saying that, like, hey, your familial bonds are stronger than anything else, right? The original quote is, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And basically what it
Ooh.
says is that what you do in life is what forms real bonds, not necessarily your familial relationships. And
Yes.
you said a few things that really got me thinking about that tonight, and it's like, because immediately when I heard that, it made me think about Freemasonry, right? I got people that I call brother, right, and they should. I mean, you call them brother. That's why we should be strict about who we let in, because they're basically part of your family at that point.
Right.
Um,
That's the way it should be. Yes.
but I have brothers in my lodge that I'm way closer to than members of my actual family.
Right. I feel the same way. And that comes and it's all by design. We have these shared experiences together, and we're going through these rites of passages together. We're going through these challenges, or we should be going through these challenges of life together, and getting the support from each other to get to that next level, to level up. And though we're not supposed to do this for monetary gain or whatever, but we should be improving so much as a person, as an individual within our lives, that it just naturally happens.
Mm-hmm.
We should be helping each other on the inside, so excuse me, so that we can affect the
I
outside,
agree.
which we're not doing as effectively today as we have in the
If
past.
we're supporting one another, however we need, be it emotionally or assisting our brothers financially, or just with connections, or whatever, that puts us in positions to provide more value to our lodge and to the community, right? You were
Yes.
talking about how we used to basically function almost like insurance, right? And that's why when there was wartime, historically, you saw such an uptick in Masonic membership,
Oh yeah. So they'd
because
get their
you
burial.
get your burial. Because otherwise, like Civil War and World War I for sure, um, I mean, if you died, you were left there, right?
Yep.
And so, but if you were a Mason, then you were entitled to a Masonic funeral, and they'd be sure that you got that. And there was a real fear of dying and being left out in the open, just for the birds and the beasts to just tear you apart. And so
Yep.
that was almost like an insurance for them, like burial insurance, knowing that they'd be taken care of when they died. Russell Copeland says that he meant that the student stays local and they have a chance to become educated to help make the community better than and later in life, so that scholarship can have a butterfly effect. Yeah, I can see that. Susan Rubio
And
says.
and I can get behind that.
Susan Rubio says, "There you go, Dennis. That's close to what we should be focused on. How do we create more value for us and our lodges?"
That's a big one.
It is a big one. Yeah,
That's a big one.
that is the $1 billion question, right? And that really should, at the end of the day, that should probably be the focus of, and that value may vary by lodge, right? Like, because I could tell you for sure what I think it'd be, and Dennis probably have a very similar but different interpretation. But is that the right answer? Well, I think so. But is that necessarily the
I
right
think
answer?
it
I don't know.
I think it starts with education.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
And either and though I don't think that that should be the only emphasis of a lodge, I think it starts with education, because if we don't educate ourselves to a better self, how are we going to, help others later?
And I don't think, and when I say education, and when we say education, I'm speaking for myself, but I don't mean like every meeting you stand up and say, "Hey, here's my lecture on astronomy. Here's my lecture on the grammar or rhetoric, whatever." Those are important, but when I say it starts with education, if you're talking about the several liberal arts or history or whatever is interesting for the brothers there, but things fundamentally at your lodge are not changing, meaning you're still letting anybody in. Your dues aren't high enough. Your endowments aren't high enough. Your meals suck. People don't know how to open and close a lodge. You're not improving, right? I think those educational sessions are important, but I think you also, and probably first and foremost, have to be educating your brothers on why change is needed in your lodge. Because if you're just providing, I say just, but if you're just providing value at a deep level, that's great, and you'll probably attract people. But if you're still not covering your operating cost, if you're still letting people in off the street with a petition that don't see the mission and vision and the big scope of things, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're kind of it's all going to go to, like, if you stop for a second, it's all gone to waste. So you have to have that education on why we need to have higher dues, why we need to have a better investigation process, why the endowments need to be a certain set price, why we should probably dress nice, why we should have better food, why it's important to be able to confer degrees and open and close lodges proficiently, things like that. Sorry, Dennis, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just trying to finish my.
Well, I know you're on a roll. That's fine. That I was just going to say that it stops becoming education, or it at that point it doesn't start with education. At that point it starts with expectation. The expectation has to be there, that, and
I think the education
people
sets
out
the
there
expectations.
The people out there that want to, well, the education reinforces that expectation. But it can go either way, ebb and flow. But the people out there that want to condemn what I say, saying I'm trying to be elitist or anything like that, no.
You're right.
I'm sorry. I just want to level up.
Yeah.
I want more in life. I don't want to just sit back and watch the wind blow the daisies. I'm not interested in that. I want more in life. And I think that if my brothers cannot challenge me to become better so that I can fulfill my dreams and my goals in life, why am I wasting my time with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you talk about leveling up your lodge and people start kind of looking down their nose at you. Is that the kind of people you're going to surround yourself with, right? Because they call it the elitist. I mean, it's the same kind of people that are like, you think I should lose weight so I can be healthier? That's elitist. Oh, I need to mow my yard and pick the crap out of it? That's elitist. You mean I can't wear shorts to a stadium meeting? I should wear long pants? That's pretty snobby, man.
I have to. I can't show my toes.
Yeah,
my crusty toes.
Yeah, education. Well, that's when we're going to talk about when we're going to talk about our fundraisers. I mean, if those are the kind of people you're surrounding yourself with, you're not going to level yourself up at your lodge. It's a saying: if you're the smartest man in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? And
yes.
and I'm not necessarily just talking about IQ here, but if you're the only man with any kind of ambition to improve himself in your lodge, you're in the wrong lodge. And those are the kind of people.
And if my brothers are going to tell me that I'm wrong for feeling that way, I'm in the wrong lodge.
Because it's easier to point your finger and be dismissive of something than it is to improve yourself. And the kind of people that do that are the kind of people that justify being mediocrity. They justify living a mediocre life. But they're also the kind of people that will also point fingers and blame others for their lack of success. They think actually putting the work in is elitist, But when things don't just magically align for them, they blame other people. And those are the kind of people you need in your lodge.
Hey, Cope, text me tomorrow. If you're still on, text me tomorrow because I'm going to Corpus tomorrow and Tuesday. So give me a holler. I know Tuesday's off the board for you, but I'll be going tomorrow as well. So text me tomorrow.
I totally agree, but this is David Lawson. I totally agree, but without buy-in by the members, change is very hard to implement. Even the simple
You're
things
right.
like not giving a petition to anyone that comes through the door. Yeah, and that's why I say it has to be preceded by education. Like if you just say, "Hey, we're not going to give petitions immediately when someone asks you anymore," why? People are going to immediately ask why, and you're going to end up explaining it anyway. But now they're going to be defensive about it. So if you lead
Well,
with
and
the
if you,
education, I think that helps you get the buy-in. It's just because you
and if
give
you just make a rule,
Go ahead.
it'll just be changed.
And just because you give a presentation once doesn't necessarily mean the lodge is going to change. It's a process. Like it may take a while. You may have to give
Culture process.
It's a cultural process.
For culture change.
It may be one or two sessions of education. It may be a few conversations, right? Not politicking, obviously, but private education, right? Where you're answering questions and explaining or whatever you have to do. It's a process. Like it's going to take a lot of conversations. It's going to take one or two. Especially, it really depends on how far your lodge is away from it, right? If, for example, like if your dues are $100 and you want to change your dues to $110, oh, okay, I guess we can do that, right? But if you're at $100 and you want to change it to $200 or $400, the further away from where you are, the more difficult that gets to be, right? So it really depends on what your lodge is. Like if your lodge is already saying, "Hey, we need to thoroughly investigate these people." If your lodge is already saying that, if you're to say, "Hey, let's also wait 3 months before we give them a petition. That way we have more time and the investigation is not rushed and we can encourage them to come to the lodge." Your lodge is already kind of seeing the big picture, right? So you could probably get that going. If you're a lodge that immediately when someone petitions, shows interest to get a petition and they're investigated, ready to go like ASAP with their degrees, it's going to be a lot harder to say, "Hey, let's wait 3 months. Let's wait 6 months before we do the petition." And let's be a lot more thorough. So
I think that what lodges ought to do is consider having like a fifth the fifth week, whatever day it is that falls on the fifth day of that month. On the months that have a fifth day,
most lodges
have that as an education. Have that as an education night.
Yeah.
I don't. Do they?
I think every month has a fifth day.
Oh my gosh. Excuse him. Excuse me for allowing myself to feed right into that.
Russell Copeland says he can't.
I'm sorry.
He can't make it tomorrow. He wishes he could, but he has a rough couple weeks ahead. So
I get it.
He will not be there.
But what I would like to say is that do something like that, or just set up a monthly meeting separate from the stated meeting. The stated meeting, see, I think at the stated meeting, if you're going to give some kind of education, it ought to be something on astronomy or something on, something easy, something that's fun, lighthearted, that's going to, just enhance the meeting, take the edge off the business, right?
Yeah.
But for your more serious conversations,
your
like
business
what you need to do for planning.
Yep. That makes sense.
What?
Like keep the specifically business things at the business meetings, your stated meetings. But have your more lighthearted quote unquote education at other meetings, if that makes sense.
I said that differently, sir.
But it's basically what you're saying, isn't it?
No, I think that when you're planning and educating your lodge for success, for changing a culture, that's not something you do in a business meeting. You cannot do that in 10 or 15 minutes. It's impossible. Mm-hmm. You need to dedicate a good hour to a program that's going to really educate and give discussion time on that education, and not try to squeeze it into a little business meeting.
I see. So you're saying the opposite of what I said then.
Yes, absolutely.
Do your esoteric stuff and things like that during stated meetings, but then have separate meetings where that's hey, we're going to deep dive into dues this meeting.
Our finances. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that way you have time to really hash it out, show them what's involved and how you get to your calculations. And because you really don't have that anymore.
I mean,
you got enough people that are already so frustrated. By the time you get to the new business in the lodge meeting, people are ready to go.
I'm going to be frank, and I've become more and more of a fan of this. I think ideally your lodge should not have a stated
meeting. I like
meeting.
you better as Justin.
I think your lodge should not have a stated meeting every month.
Right.
I think
right.
Like
it's a waste of time, really.
Well, really it is, but you'd be surprised. Like, yeah, but if you said, hey, we're going to meet 6 times a year, so every other month, you still meet every month, but you have a stated meeting every other month. And what you do on the off months, those are the months when you really have the education. Like, you're kind of constrained by time at a stated meeting, right? Because you got a lot of business, but you say, hey, we're not gonna actually even open lodge. We're gonna have a meal and we're gonna have an educational presentation and enjoy one of those company.
Yes.
And just focus on that. Yeah.
And do it together.
And
eat and present together.
And that's what we're doing this is not to brag. This is just proof of concept. This is what we do at the York Rite at Hillsboro, and and when I say it's thriving, I'm not exaggerating. Like, it is thriving. We have a stated meeting every 3 months, and the meetings in between, that's education. Like, we have a meal for all of our meetings, but specifically education. We have a presentation and a meal, and then we'll do like a degree practice or something. Russell Copeland has to go. Glad to have you, brother. Thanks for hopping on tonight.
Take care, Cope.
And it works. Like, there's like, we have called meetings for the things that just come up when we have to talk about, but that's rare. Like, you'd be surprised.
By the way, I didn't want to make him big-headed, but that's one of the officers I'm so excited about in Goliad this year.
Awesome.
That's one of the 3.
I think it's the first time he's been on here. But yeah, that's exciting, especially if he's on this stuff and soaking all this stuff in. I think that's really positive. But
yeah, he's one of the 3 that went to OLT
and
has been a few times and really soaks it in and takes it to heart.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, it's been an hour and a half. I say we wrap it up, and if you got any final thoughts, let's hear it.
I think after this discussion, I think what I'm going to do is, since you're pretty much writing that other thing on your own, I'm going to.
Well, I'm going to collaborate. I'm going to share it to you so you can collaborate if you want to. On Google.
Well, I thought.
Well, dude, I haven't.
But anyways, I think I want to take a deep dive into. I think I'm going to go back to our original video, our very first conversation when you actually interviewed me as a guest, and we talked about about a well-rounded lodge. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to make a good presentation out of that.
Isn't that funny? That was our first conversation, because what we were talking about tonight, to an extent, and specifically at the Inner Circle meeting, that's what we're looking at creating, like almost like a checklist on how to be a well-rounded lodge.
Right.
That's funny. Right. I didn't think of that until you said that. It's like that's full circle. Just
right.
Back to rounding off for lodges. Yeah, that's a
well,
good...
and what you're starting is a more technical end. What I'm starting is what I'll develop alongside that is more of the just some reasoning behind the technical. Just why it's important to suit up, why it's important to do good ritual, why it's important to, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like it.
Because, that way it'll blend together as a good, and then of course we'll collaborate on that as well.
Cool, awesome. Well, Zach Smith says, "Have a great night," and man, I'm glad you hopped in. I'm always glad to see you. And
you too.
This was a good conversation. It usually is.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the conversation, and Bearded Bacon, thanks for hopping on, brother. And
and I appreciate all the thoughts and everything from all the brothers. That your opinions do matter. I'm not when I rebuttal, it's not because I don't think they matter.
Yeah.
I just share a different opinion.
Yeah,
That's all.
and I think you respectful when you do that. So what was really unique about tonight is usually when we have a live, pretty much everybody's green on my screen, meaning they're inner circle, right? We got Zach Smith, we got Austin White, we got other than that, Bearder Bacon stuck around the whole time. Russell Copeland, David Lawson, Caesar. So this is good to me because usually when it's inner circle, I feel like we're just kind of Kirk Otto. I don't know if he's still here, but he was here. But usually I feel like it's almost like an echo chamber because they're inner circle because they're already buying in, right?
Right.
And so
right.
it's good to have.
We had a
it's
little
good to
bit
have-
of different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bearder Bacon says go look at the moon. It's kind of thunderstormy outside. I don't know if the moon's showing, but I'll go check it out. But
I can probably see it here.
yeah.
Is Caesar still on?
I haven't heard anything from him in a little bit, so I don't know if he's still here.
Okay. Okay.
David says we need
'Cause I
definitely
wanted
help,
to-
and y'all have it going on. David, feel free to reach out to us anytime. Like I don't know where your lodge is, but like if you need education or if you need guidance,
We
or
all
anything.
we all need help.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all need help. And it's when we have little nuggets that we can help each other with, that's worth the world, man.
Absolutely.
That's what makes us the fraternity that we should be, is helping each other to build each other up.
Absolutely
Really.
cool. All right, man. Well, that was good, and I don't see Caesar responding, so he might have dipped out. But
Okay.
cool. We'll see everybody in the next live. Y'all take care.
Keep it between the points, brothers.